Hello and welcome everybody. Today I'll be going over all of the basics that it takes to understanding what a website is made of, with the goal of making a personalized website for you. You do not need to have any previous knowledge, as I will be going from basics to advanced. This will be the first of many videos to come, so please make sure you like this video, and if you find it interesting, share with others. Also, please subscribe to keep up to date with my latest content, as well as when the next video of this series comes out. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So I just want to show you an amazing site that will help you learn a lot if you want to. So we're just going to search for W3 schools. I'm sure if you've done any type of other development, you should know about this because it's pretty handy. You've got some tutorials here if you want to do them. There's some references here. There's examples. There are exercises and quizzes as well that you can do. They do have paid programs as far as I know, but they can teach you, as you can see, quite a few different languages. But for this, we're basically going to be focusing on HTML, CSS, and then a little bit of JavaScript later on. So first, for an understanding, we can go here. So what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML is the standard markup language for web pages. HTML elements are the building blocks of all HTML pages. HTML elements are represented by tags. So knowing what a tag is very important because they'll be everywhere basically. So HTML elements. As you can see here, an HTML element has a starting tag and a ending tag. So almost all of them have starting and ending tags. So here we can see H1, this is a heading, and then we've got a closing H1. This will print out a heading. Then as you can see here, we've got another example with a paragraph. So the awesome thing about this site is if we want to see this simple document, we can just hit run and then we can see it's here. So if we want to change this, we can say, oh, what am I typing? We can say changed, and then when we click run, we can see it changed live. So then there we can see the explanation of the code as well. So over here it just breaks it down. You can read it if you want to, but I will be explaining a bit. This just represents that it is a HTML page. Then we've got the opening HTML, the closing HTML, and then we've got everything inside of it. If we scroll down a bit here, we can see the structure of the HTML page. So we have a head part with a title, so this will represent the title of a page, you know, the thing that shows at the top of a page when a page is open, kind of like this. I hope you can see that now. So then we also have the body part, and this is where majority of the content goes. As you can see here, it shows where the heading and the paragraph went. So then we can also see the different types of headings. So we can go from H1 to H6, which depends on how big the heading will be. As we can see in this example, 1 is the biggest and 6 is the smallest. So you can also write paragraphs. It shows you how to insert a link with the A tag and then href. I guess that's how you say it, I'm not quite sure. Then we can also see how you would put a image in, and then a button, and then lists, tables. So you can see there's quite a bit here, but that's the basics of it. Next we can look at what is CSS. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and this basically describes how the HTML elements will be displayed. So this is a basic example. As you can see, we can put CSS into our HTML page using a style tag and a closing style tag, and then here we've just changed the physical parts of the body, the header one and the paragraph. But if we go further down here, we can see that there are two different ways. You can put it in a straight line or you can spread it out. You can also do a external style sheet. So as you can see, here is a internal style sheet where we're using the starting and ending tags. So you can see here's the body, there's the HTML. We have defined the style at the top and it's changed it. But if we go to external style sheet, we can see that here we provide a link to the style sheet that is calling all of this to make it display the way it is. So then we can also see here's an example of the inline style. So we can change individual elements on a page. So as we can see here, we can make the font size different for these paragraphs. Then we can also see that there is a cascading order, so that if there are different styles for a specific HTML element, the styles will cascade into a new style following the priority. So priority 1 is inline style. So as you can see here, if you do have a inline style, it will use that one, then it will use external, and then it will use browser defaults. So then next we can look at JavaScript. So JavaScript is a programming language for the web. It has nothing to do with Java. It's just, it's JavaScript. Java can be updated to change both the HTML and the CSS. Most awesome things are done with JavaScript. JavaScript can calculate, manipulate, and validate data. So we can take a quick look at the most important data types. We have numbers, strings, objects, arrays, and functions. I'm not really going to go in depth on this. Later on I'll explain a bit more about it as we go along, but as you can see, you can declare a variable with the var sign, and then you always have a ending semicolon. So you can see here, this will be a decimal number. You don't really need to type it out. All you do is when you add it, it adds it. So here we can see strings. We can define it both ways. There's quite a bit you can do with JavaScript. There's arrays. You don't really need to know most of this. Important thing to know is functions. So functions basically help you break it up into parts that you can do specific things and then return it to the main program. I will be explaining more of this in depth later on when we get to it. So here we can see that we are just calling the document. So let's go to this example. So you can see we can click here and it changes it. So here we put the paragraph in, then we said we made an event on click, and then we put the JavaScript inside here where you just go document.getElementById, which just means basically this is defined as an ID name of demo. So we just want to get that, and then we're basically saying the inner HTML, which is this over here, we are going to change to that when this button is clicked. Next, we can look at some CSS icons actually, because I'm not really going to bother with the others. You can go through everything if you really want to. So what are CSS icons? Well, Fonts Awesome icons, Bootstrap icons, and Google icons. I normally use Fonts Awesome icons because you can find quite a few out there. So let's look at this example. It's the best way to explain it. If you want to put in an icon of anything, basically there are so many out there. You can go and browse at so actually if we just go to fontsawesome.com, we can see a bunch of icons, but yeah, let's look at this example. We can see that we just have a cloud, a heart, and then a car, a file, and bars over there. And then we can see here that we can change the style of them. So with this cloud, we can change it. If we made it bars instead of a cloud here, we can run it and we can see that it changed to bars. So you can find a whole bunch over here. But yeah, that's fonts. That's Fonts Awesome icons. There's also Google icons and Bootstrap icons. So then next, getting into Bootstrap. Now, what is Bootstrap? Bootstrap is a CSS framework that helps with dealing with responsiveness of mobile first websites. So a lot of internet traffic is generated on mobile phones, so you need to make sure your website is mobile friendly. Bootstrap just helps you do that in a easy way. You can check out the Bootstrap website, but yeah, if we just use this example, if you want to test out how a site will look on a mobile phone, you just need to inspect, and then over here you can see we can set it to responsiveness, and we can see the responsiveness of a site, and then we can actually change the mobile phone over there to make it whatever we want to, because what you're seeing on your PC isn't always what's going on the site. So then, and then the next thing I'm just going to touch on is GitHub. Now, GitHub is a coding hosting platform that helps you with version control, and it just helps you keep your code safe in a way, because you'll be able to download it again if anything happens to your machine. I'll be getting into this more later on, because you can actually host your site for free on GitHub. So then next, the awesome thing about W3 Schools is that they have templates. So on the W3 Schools website, we can see they have w3.css templates. We can see there are quite a bunch of templates. You can just click try it yourself if you want to try it out for yourself. I've chosen two that I quite like. So if we look at this first one, we can see that when we click on these buttons, they pop up some boxes. We can see that the CSS is set here with the background image set of this. So then next we can look at div. So a div tag basically just helps you to separate your code. So as we can see here, we have a div with a bunch of stuff in, and then over here they've made a comment to say that this is the main menu that is in its individual div tags, and then here is the contact, which will be that contact form in its own div. But if we want to see how this one actually works, over here where the menu and the contact is defined, we can see that they are buttons and they have an on-click event, and then that basically just calls some JavaScript, which is document.getElementById, and then the ID is menu. Over here we can see the ID is menu, and then the other one is contact, which we can see over there is contact, and then we can see the rest of the formatting for the page, as well as we can see that this just displays the outcome as a .style.display as block to bring it up as a block. Then if we look at the other example, we can see that there's also quite a bit going on in this example, but this example is different. All of the buttons you click on takes you to a certain piece of the page. The nice thing about this one is when you see we scrolling here, we can see that it sort of moves with the image. This is done because of some JavaScript that we can see here at the bottom. This function over here is just a scrolling function so that it makes the images like this. We also see that there is a nav bar, so when we go, if you want to check how responsive your website is, a nice thing is this inspect element. As we can see here, if we were on a mobile device, we would get this, which means we'd have this pull down bar to be able to still click on everything, and we can see that it is very good in its responsiveness. You can change devices if you really want to, check it all out. Yeah, I will be getting more deeper into this later on, but for this video let's just change this top picture. So if we delete that reference, as we can see that this is just sending us to this URL, which is just, this is the local path that it is finding. We can also put a web address in. So if you've never heard of this site, it is called pixels.com. It gives you free images to use. Copyright, no copyright. So if we open this image in a new tab and then we just copy image address, we can just paste the image address in there, and then all we do is click run, and then as we can see we've changed it there. So we can change it on all of them if we wanted to. We could use different pictures like they had, but let's just see it. As we can see, that's pretty cool. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe and share. Stay tuned for more, as I will be releasing the next video where I show you a bit more about how to make your own personalized site. Stay tuned. Bye for now.